Hi, my name is Anita Cobb, and I'm the chair of the Inclusion and Aviation Committee for SWAHI.
Hi, my name is Zenia Cornejo, and I am the vice chair for the Inclusion and Aviation Committee for SWAHI.
Hi, I'm Daniel Meyer, and I'm one of the vice chairs for the Inclusion and Aviation Committee for SWAHI.
This is the Inclusion and Aviation Video Podcast.
Southwest AAA. Southwest AAA. From the runway to the boardroom, every voice got space. Different paths, one sky, yeah, we setting the pace. We don't wait for permission, we build connection. Grow, collaborate, thrive, that's the direction. Professional development, workforce on lock. Building future leaders, round the clock. Resources shared, optimized, multiply, gain. Wide hoard opportunity when we all can reign. Network ain't numbers, it's trust in the room. Call us a bridge, it's careers that bloom. When one of us rises, the whole hub feels it. Southwest community, strong building business. Say it with me, when the future's to play. Southwest AAA, SWAHI. Grow, connect, elevate. Hey.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SWAHI Ticket to Inclusion video podcast. My name is Crystal Garcia, Business Development Manager for CNS Companies, as well as a proud member of SWAHI's Inclusion and Aviation Committee. And today, I'm honored to be your host. Today's conversation highlights the important work of the Northeast chapter of AAAE and its Inclusion and Aviation Committee. I'm excited to be joined by three incredible leaders in our industry. First, we have Sean Hammer, Deputy Director for the Office of Regional Aviation Assistance at the Maryland Aviation Administration. And fun fact, Sean isn't just about business. He once hit the dance floor, performing in a week-long swing dance showcase aboard a cruise ship. We're also joined by Kiva Rodriguez, Chief Operating Officer at the Maryland Aviation Administration. Kiva is on a mission to visit all 50 states and is already about halfway through the adventure. And finally, we have Zach Sundquist, Assistant Airport Director at Portland International Jetport. And what's on Zach's travel bucket list? To stay at every W hotel worldwide. So clearly, aviation isn't the only thing keeping this group on the move. All right, let's jump in. Sean, I'd love to start with you. Can you give our audience a quick overview of the Northeast chapter and your role and anything else you would like to share? Then we can jump to Kiva and Zach so they can introduce themselves and their role in the chapter as well.
Thank you so much, Crystal, and thank you to SWAHI for inviting us to be a part of this important conversation and to showcase who we are in the Northeast. So I'm Sean Hammer again, President of the Northeast Chapter of the American Association of Airport Executives. We're known as the NEC. We represent airports, aviation professionals across one of the most complex and diverse regions in the country, from major hubs to smaller commercial and general aviation airports. Our mission is to advance the industry through collaboration, education, and leadership. Within the NEC, our Inclusion and Aviation Committee plays a critical role in ensuring diversity, equity, and inclusion are not just aspirational values, but operational priorities. We focus on creating pathways for underrepresented groups through outreach, scholarships, and mentorship programs. We also work to institutionalize inclusion as a core business strategy. Because we believe DEI strengthens our workforce, our communities, and the future of aviation. We're proud to be part of the Inclusion and Aviation Conference and growing it into a national platform for sharing best practices and driving meaningful change. Today, we're excited to share our vision and learn from others as we continue building a more inclusive industry together. And I'd like to open it up to Kiva and Zach, and also if they could introduce our chair, Shanita, who isn't able to join us today. So Kiva, Zach?
Absolutely. I'll take it from here. Thanks so much, Sean. Hello, everybody. I'm Kiva Rodriguez, and I currently serve as our chapter's secretary. It is truly an honor to be able to support the chapter at this level. Originally, I joined the chapter and instantly became a member of our, at the time, DEI committee. And it has just been a phenomenal journey. And currently, our chair for this committee, for the Inclusion and Aviation Committee, is Shanita Thomas. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but I think she's enjoying some much deserved R&R. I believe she's in Aruba, so somewhere a lot sunnier and a lot warmer than where we are right now. And we're just sending her well wishes, but also just wanted to make mention of her and her tremendous leadership. So with that, I'll hand it off to Zach.
Thank you, Kiva. Again, Zach Sundquist, and I am a past president of the Northeast chapter and currently sit as the chapter representative on the National Board of Directors for AAAE. And then I'm also one of the vice chairs for the AAAE Inclusion Aviation Committee at the national level. So very excited to take part in today's conversation.
Awesome. Well, I'd really love to start at the beginning and talk about really like the origin story. Zach, can you start us off and tell us, how did the inclusion and aviation effort first get started, from the early DEI committee efforts to the launch of the Aviation and Inclusion Conference?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of chapters, we had a DEI committee and we had a lot of other committees, but you know, a lot of work wasn't really being done in the space. But back in 2016, the National DEI Committee had put out a request for all of the regional chapters to do a DEI session at their annual conference. And so we had our first ever DEI specific session at our annual conference in Wilmington, Delaware back in 2016. And the whole attitude in the room just changed when we got to that session, because it wasn't a death by PowerPoint. It wasn't kind of that routine, you know, airport conference session. All of a sudden, this was like personal stories about three of our peers. And it just really changed just the whole atmosphere and dynamic in the room. And it's still a session to this day, 10 years later. People still talk about it. Like it was just kind of one of those, like we all felt it in our hearts. And honestly, like from that point forward, the DEI committee just, it was like the inject of reason that we needed to keep going and expand the conversation. And we were very lucky at the time. Appia Pullingham from Philadelphia was starting off in the chapter. And if you've ever met Appy, she is just a go kind of person. And she took it and ran with it. And we started having, you know, more and more focus at our annual conference on DEI initiatives. And then we kind of ran headlong right into COVID, right? 2016, we started building some momentum. And then right there, early 2020, the world shut down. And I think what we really found was the conversations we were having were so critical. One, we were all starting to connect in little boxes on our computers, but it actually provided us, you know, a platform to talk about all the different things that were impacting us, from mothers trying to, you know, deal with remote school and working remote and all this, and some of those dynamics, to hiring and finding new employees when the world shut down. And it honestly just kind of really helped to stimulate the committee. And every single month we were talking about new relevant topics. And you know, and it just kind of continued to grow and grow and grow, to the point where we were doing monthly webinars on DEI specific initiatives. And that really started to get the attention of AAAE. And, you know, as we were growing, we were just kind of like, we're getting to the point where this could actually be an in-person conference as we're coming out of COVID. And we've just got a lot of momentum and a lot of passion for the topic. And so here we are today, you know, co-sponsors with AAAE of a national conference every year focused on the topic, and continuing to do great work at the committee level. So
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add, other panelists?
Yeah, so part of that story, I mean, it was beautifully delivered, but I'm going to tell you my point of view of how I got involved with the DEI committee. So at the time, just as Zach mentioned, he mentioned Oppie, and Oppie has been a tremendous leader in aviation and especially in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space across transportation. I probably spent about 15 minutes going over her resume of things that she's done. She is phenomenal. But at the time, prior to COVID, just a little bit of personal history. I was actually working as a consultant for a construction management firm. I was literally on my last 2 weeks of working with that firm, and I had a couple of dates that I needed to cover in terms of attending conferences, giving presentations. And actually, I attended, we have in the Northeast chapter what a lot of us colloquially call it the Hershey Conference, but it's essentially our airports conference. It's actually taking place next week, and we're very fortunate that we get to enjoy the camaraderie and learn about all of the technical issues impacting our airports in the comfort of Hershey. So, so it's something we all look very much forward to. But at the time, I attended the Hershey Conference, the Aviation Airports Conference, and I had to give a presentation. And afterwards, as I was transitioning away from this company, I was actually transitioning into the previous role that I had as Deputy Chief Engineer for an airport. So with that, there was a lot of buzz, right? And so I was kind of being pulled this way and that way to meet all of these airport folks. And while I was meeting some folks from the local area, Oppie walks up and she says, "Oh, I'm Oppie. I'm actually the chair of our new DE&I committee. You're going to join my committee." It wasn't a question. She essentially just said it with a period on the end, and I just said, "Okay." And so as I was transitioning into this new role, I transitioned into the committee and into becoming an active member of the Northeast chapter. And it has been a wonderful experience. I got to help develop what we have is an annual award to actually recognize airports and airport partners who have been leaders in inclusion in the aviation industry, and really map out what that looks like in terms of the criteria. And I think we're on our 6th year of awarding our colleagues with this award and really recognizing them. We've also been able to bring, just as Zach mentioned, the virtual webinars. And what really happened there was really interesting, because what it did was it really created this safe space for our committee and also for other members of Northeast chapter. And what was even better was that we found that people were attending from across the country. And it became this safe space. The stories, the personal stories of our committee members became topics because people wanted to ask questions and they wanted to be educated. And so that's where the genesis of us creating this virtual environment of safety really came about. It really allowed us to engage and ask questions and really learn from one another. And what's even better is a lot of this you can find on YouTube through our chapter's account. So if you wanted to go back and watch some of these webinars, they are available to you. And I think they've been absolutely wonderful. So that was my experience. And it eventually, like I said, Oppie had to move on to bigger and better things and continue to carry that torch across transportation. So she handed the reins to me for the chat for the committee. And honestly, it was just so great to be able to run that committee for quite some time. And it also, I walked away with this level of responsibility to make sure that, when it was my time to turn it over to someone else, to find the right person who would also take care of the committee and show it the level of respect that it truly deserved. So, I was very, very mindful in selecting and recommending the person to run the committee after I stepped away. And Shanita has definitely picked it up and has been just as caring and considerate and driven as all of her predecessors. So I just wanted to mention that. And it's just been beautiful to see that how much the committee has really been able to share that level of that feeling throughout the entire organization. So I just wanted to add a little bit more to that story.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, to me, it's clear that this work has been very intentional from the start. And, you mentioned a few things that you guys are already doing, like the Inclusion Awards and the conference. But I'm curious, can one of you tell us, are there other things that you currently do to infuse inclusion in your chapter, or other unique things that your committee is doing to showcase and strategize for inclusion?
Yeah, so the committee just does some great work, and Shanita is doing a great job leading them and really prioritizing representation and diverse perspectives. They ensure that the committee includes members from airports of all sizes, from different regions, from varied professional backgrounds. They also engage underrepresented groups through outreach programs, scholarships, mentorship initiatives, and they create pathways into aviation careers, really helping people see, what opportunities are out there. Our events and discussions, intentionally include inclusive language, and then the topics that we have are also very inclusive, making sure that DEI is not just a side conversation, but also integrated into our operational and strategic planning. The committee does such a great job collaborating with industry partners and also our educational institutions, all of our schools that are part of our chapters as well, and bringing up the students, both to connect. Within the chapter, but also outreach and connecting our local communities to aviation opportunities, and especially in our urban and underserved areas.
And I think if I can add on to that, I think the chapter has been quite intentional over the past several years, and not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk. And when you look at, we have 5 conferences across the year, and starting with my presidential year, and it's carried forward. We've been very intentional about making sure every single session, every single one of our events has a nexus to inclusion. And so not uncommon at our conferences to have YoPros moderating, to have women, to have minority groups, to have English as a second language. We are very intentional with the creation of our speaking panels and all that at all of our events. And again, that is just a further ingraining of the values of the chapter, and making sure that we continue to put that on display, not just talk about it, but also as a chapter really walk the walk.
Yeah, and those YouTube videos that you mentioned, right? People can go back and listen to those webinars. So I think it's great that you guys are capturing some of that, so that people that are not there in real time can also be part of the conversation and learn and see that in the future. So looking ahead, I'm curious, what inclusion goals are you guys most focused on, and where can we best support your efforts?
So go ahead, Sean. You probably have something there.
No, go ahead, Kiva, if you want to
Yeah, so
start.
I just wanted to say that I think that what we're seeing is that obviously, within our industry, a lot is taking place that's impacting our members in terms of our airports. And what we want to do, what I see happening, I would say from my vantage point, is we want to do everything we can to support our airports and our airport partners, providing continuously and consistently providing support, but also ensuring that they understand that as a chapter, inclusion is still a business priority for our chapter, and that we will always be here to be a resource. I think that's what I am seeing from my vantage point. But of course, for the leadership of our chapter, I'm sure Sean has more to add.
Yeah, I mean, inclusion isn't going anywhere. This is a fire that has started, that we all see that it's just what works. For our global industry, inclusion is necessary. We're just part of so many different fabrics, and we all work together to make this all work. And it feels great to be able to do that. And we're going to continue that. We want to make sure that we continue to expand our outreach. We want to work with all different, sizes of airports, and all different types of backgrounds and professional levels. We're gonna continue that. But what I think we'd like to strengthen is really our partnerships with SWAHI and the other chapters as well, to see how that we can share our best practices. We can look for different resources that we have that we can apply out to the workforce. The goal is long term. You know, it's something that we want to find that this is really embedded in all the organizations that we touch, both from the airport side and all the different industries that work within aviation, but also in our local communities as well, because we all bring this back home, and I think that's very important. So really, um, I think one of our biggest goals is just, to continue this effort no matter, what the environment is looking like, that we continue that, but also to find more ways that we can collaborate with our other chapters within AAAE.
And I think we're really, as a chapter, being 10 years in now, I mean, we're really starting to see some of that investment pay off, right? We have people that were introduced to the chapter through YoPro and through the DEI committee and all that, and they are now taking leadership positions in the chapter. They are getting on our board, they are getting on our EC, and they are charting the future for the chapter. And so, it was not that long ago when I was starting out in chapter leadership where we put out nominations and there was one person. So, welcome aboard. You're the only one that put in. And now we're seeing competitive applicant pools for our vacant chapter leadership positions. And I think a lot of that is because we've shown the value of the chapter. There is a reason to be a part of this organization. And now we have a diverse board, charting our future. So it's very exciting to see it kind of come full circle.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see, it's really helpful to understand where focused support can make an impact. And I truly believe we're stronger together. And by sharing our insights and perspectives and what we're working on, I think it could really be impactful. So I want to zoom the conversation out a little further and ask, if you had unlimited resources, human or financial, what would you do to further the message and reach of your inclusion in aviation efforts? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I can lead off with, some ideas that we've had would be to, launch some type of national aviation inclusion fellowship program and provide training, mentorship, and job placement for the underrepresented groups. Maybe create some type of comprehensive toolkit for airports of all sizes, including templates for outreach, recruitment, community engagement, and then really unlimited funding, funding scholarships and internships at scale to build that diverse talent pipeline for the next generation of aviation professionals. Kiva, Zach?
Yeah,
What are
I
your
actually have
ideas?
something too. So one of the years that we had our annual conference, we were in Philadelphia, and it was really great because one of the things that we really tried to do as a committee was wherever we go for our conference, try to touch the community in some positive way. So having a community service activity or bringing kids in for like a day of aviation. So for me, I would say probably being able to set up a grant program so that our airports can have some sort of aviation summer camp at their airport. At our airport at BWI, we have a 1 week camp in the summer for about 50. And last year, I think we extended it to about 75 to 100 students, where they get to learn about all of the different careers in aviation for a full week, and they don't pay a dime. I mean, everything is sponsored. From t-shirts, they get a different t-shirt every day. They get breakfast, lunch every single day, snacks all day, and they get to even, fly an airplane to start getting their hours, their flight hours. So they get to do a lot of different things. And I would love if we could try to expand that to almost every airport in our Northeast chapter and be able to have the resources so that they can feel supported to be able to do that.
That is so cool. I never got to go to camp. So I feel like that would be such an amazing experience. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. And you did mention in there the conference, and I know we've touched on it a few times. And you mentioned it did get its start in the Northeast chapter. And I believe there's been 3 conferences to date. I'm curious, can one of you share what your guys' vision is for what the conference can be in the future?
Yeah, I think just want to continue the conversation. For those of you that have been to the conference, would love to get some of your feedback. But I know everything I have heard is this conference is not like any other conference on the AAAE calendar. It is so conversational. There's so much passion for the topic, and as Kiva said, we're always very intentional about the communities we go in. And I think just picking up on some of the cultural things that we do in the community now, our evening event is a food tour throughout the city. That started in Syracuse and grew in Philly, and then last year in Seattle was just a phenomenal kind of experience. Again, just being a very intentional, open, candid conversation. I know as people are leaving, they're fired up to go back to their organization and continue charging on.
So I love food, so I just want to make a mention to talk a little bit about that. So the food tour, the significance of that is not just to, of course, break bread with the rest of the attendees. It's also to support small businesses and a lot of minority-owned businesses, and also, of course, to enjoy the different cultures that are represented through food. So what better way to do that? So I think that that's a really unique spin to that conference, and I know it's something I will be looking forward to at future conferences as someone who just loves food. So I would say that is a really significant kind of a unique way to really be able to give back to the communities that we are visiting.
Yeah, it's a win-win, and I love food too, so I'm on board. Okay, we're running out of time here, so I think I'd love to just open it up to our audience to see if any of them have questions. So if you're in our audience and would like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
I just want to tell everyone thanks for taking the time out and joining us. I always love to see all of you, and I really enjoyed being on one of your guys' panels a long time ago. It was a lot of fun. And just so everybody knows, it is going to hit 93 here today. So if you like warm weather, you're welcome to come down. And it's going to be 96 this weekend. So,
Send some our way. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I know. And then all my other friends are going to New York, and they're like, oh, we're about to be in a blizzard. I'm like, ooh. So I just want to say thank you. I think the initiative that all of us collectively work on together says a lot. I think having you guys here is magnificent. I think that I really enjoy. I've got built friendships with a lot of folks that are already on here, and very fortunate to call many of you guys my friends. So I think at the end of the day, we all believe that this should be a part of what we do organically in all of our sessions and programs. And I think that it shows that we're in alignment with you guys too. So it's not something we're trying to force down anyone's throat. We're just saying this is the thing that we should be doing. Like, it shouldn't be difficult. And I want to say thank you to Anita and the entire group from the Southwest that really help us understand the importance of it. And we have a lot of fun. I know Sean gets a kick out of me and some of the things that I do to challenge the other chapter presidents. And so we have a lot of fun trying to figure it out and really get people to be awake and understand that our purpose is really about being collective and together to meet what we need to do for the industry. And that's help our professionals grow, and then help our young professional see the light and grow with us too. And us to learn, to continuously learn as we approach our retirement. So it's real important. Thank you guys for coming on with us. And again, all of you guys are always welcome in the very, very southwest of the nation here in Yuma. If you don't know where it's at, don't worry. It's not hard to miss, and it is hard to miss at the same time. So, all right, I'll turn it back on.
And Gladys, thank you for trekking up to Syracuse, New York in the middle of November to be a panel member on our very first session ever at an Inclusion Aviation event. So thank you.
Yep. And would you guys like to hear the story with Oppie as well? Because I think this will make everybody laugh real quick. How did I not meet Oppie, but how Oppie and I got together. So when she was forming the panel, somebody had told her, I forgot which one it was like, hey, there's an airport director out there, and you wanted somebody, a woman of color. But of course, they're saying, you want somebody who's Black, you can go to Gladys, right? So then Oppie researched me and was like, I don't know if you think, I'm a pretty good read, but I don't think she's Black. But so then the first conversation with me and Oppie was like, yeah, we got this panel. Let me tell you what it's about. She's like, but can I ask you a question? She's like, I think I already know the answer. She's like, you're not Black. And I said, no. She's like, I knew you weren't, but I know it's kind of awkward because we don't know each other. That's the first question she asked me. And I was like, no, I know everyone gets a little confused. She's like, oh, I'm not confused. I knew right when I saw you. And so I thought it was funny. I said, I think it's the way I was raised and my personality when people meet me. Then we started talking, but that was the biggest way. I mean, the reason why we met each other is that they were looking for a panelist that was, a woman of color in a leadership position at that time, and other folks had already transitioned where they're out of the country. And so that was my first meeting with Oppie, and it was amazing. But at the same time, she's like, I think that there's some value there to talk about, how you advance yourself in the career and some of the challenges. But it was nice to have a very open, candid conversation, and to start off that way was fun for me because everybody can't figure it out. And then I'm like, no, I'm Filipino. They're like, at 6 foot something, there's no way you can be Filipino. I'm like, oh, no, it's a half white side too. So that's what happens when a Filipino and a Texan meet each other. You gotta create me. So, but I want to say again, it's always fun how we all can be very open about that and ask those questions. And that's the nice thing about this whole group.
And you can catch that session on YouTube. It was our Women's History Month. I remember it. And I helped Oppie put that panel together. And it was my first introduction to you, Gladys. And you've just been a phenomenal friend in this industry. And I'm so proud of you. And I just love watching your journey. Really, I've learned so much from you already.
I love it. I love it. Well, open and candid conversations. We love it. And we hope that's what we've had here today on the podcast. So I just want to wrap up today's conversation. And again, thank our esteemed guests for sharing their insights and for the meaningful work that you guys are doing to advance inclusion across the aviation industry. So thank you. And for our listeners who feel inspired and would like to get involved, SWAHI and NEC chapters are always looking for passionate professionals to engage with our committees and our initiatives. So we encourage you to reach out to one of us, or I believe there's going to be an interest form at the end that you could complete to learn more about how you can plug in and be part of this important work. So again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
We thank you so much for joining our podcast today, and we hope to see you again soon. Much love, from SWAHI.
When the future's to play. Southwest AAA, SWAHI, Ground Connect, Elevate. Hey.